Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Rode Dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the business coaching legend himself, Karl Bryan. Shoots, welcome.
Shoots, what's going on, bud? How are we? Good, bud?
Well, you know, it is summertime, which is real nice. Just, as one does in Canada, it's summertime. You just look at all the free agent signings. Shoots, that's in the NHL. Isn't that what you do in the summer? Just look at, who's signing where and what hockey team's going to perform well and anticipate at which round of the playoffs, typically the first, the Leafs are going to get eliminated. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. Actually, my team, I was watching for signings. The problem is they didn't sign anyone. So,
well, they signed Bertuzzi.
Yeah, Ty Domi, not Ty Domi.
Max. Yeah. Which I don't know if it seemed like a lot of people were exiting stage left.
I know. You are not incorrect. Tell you, the media, that's what, I don't know. There must be a business coaching lesson in there all day long. But, the media gives so much, and think New York Jets, think New York Yankees, think Dallas Cowboys, etc. Right? And it's just, like the media don't take any, like all these, like Ryan O'Reilly is an example for anybody following hockey. I mean, this is a consummate professional. This is a guy that's been, captain of was he the captain when they won? He wasn't actually the captain when they won the cup, but he was assistant captain, became the captain. I mean, this guy is a legend. He's almost a captain of every team as soon as he walks in the dressing room because he's just got that way about him, right? He's a guy you want to keep on your team. Well, he leaves for, other pastures. I don't want to call them greener because I don't believe that they are, but for the Nashville Predators, right? And they're all hammering management. They're hammering coaching. They're hammering the team. They're hammering their playoff record, etc. You know who nobody's hammering is the media. And it's the media hammering all these guys. Do you know who's responsible for a guy like that going, you know what? I'm probably going to go to a quieter market and somewhere for the next 4 years that I could live a slightly, like, do I want to be on the front page of the newspaper every single day when I'm not, when I'm not crushing it and didn't get a hat trick yesterday kind of thing? You know what I mean? Like the media, and they're just so hard. Yeah, they're just, you know what I mean? They're so hard on the players, but then they don't take any responsibility when somebody exits stage left. And the reason they're exiting stage left is because they want a quieter existence, and that's the media. It's like,
Do you think, Karl, also with Dubas leaving, like now, to turn this more into a business type situation? So you've got what was he was just GM, wasn't he? He wasn't club president. So you've got your GM leaves, and then all of a sudden, all these players leave. Like it's just you go into it going, wow, we need to make this change, and the next thing you know, it's like you have this massive attrition that's happening. Probably happens more than we think inside a business too. Like I'd be curious to look at that. Like when there's a major management change, how many people are like, yeah, peace out, I'm done. Like I think that's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, 100%. When a key manager, a key employee leaves, it creates chaos, right? So the GM walks away, there's going to be chaos, right? Somebody, even if the new guy coming in is absolutely magic, which frankly he is, if you were going to replace Dubas with anybody, this is the guy. But the reality is that, there's going to be chaos. It's a new GM with a new direction. All the players immediately have questions, and then it's difficult to get to every single one of the players because he's got he's got a lot on his plate, a lot. And if you knew what he had on his plate, for anybody listening, which we're not going to bore you with, but like no trade clauses kicking in, etc. So yeah, there's no doubt you got to protect your staff. You want to have a good company. you have got to be able to retain staff. It's like there's a saying, there's nobody, where do you find the good employees? There's no good employees out there, kind of thing. Nobody's saying that, but no doubt they get the frame, right? The reality is not that there's not really good employees out there. It's just that they're not looking for you, right?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, and especially as a coach, or if like you're leading group coaching, there needs to be a level of energy and a level of excitement and a level of, you got to bring something to the table that others are there going, oh, I want to be close to that, right? It's like you're a Ferrari on stage. When a Ferrari is driving down the highway, lots of cars speed up just to get close to it. So 101 happens all the time. When Tony Robbins walks on stage, there's just a presence. There's a presence. Love him, hate him, completely irrelevant. The reality is there's 5,000 people in the audience. Tony Robbins walks on stage, and there is a presence about him, an energy that he brings into the room automatically just with him walking on stage that you just can't bottle. Question is, when you roll up to your staff meetings, when your coaching client rolls up to the staff meetings, what level of presence did they bring to that meeting? And the answer is that you need to bring, the person who's running the company needs to appear to be having a fabulous time.
Mm.
And what's all that to say? Staff will want to stay, right? If they're coming to staff meetings and it's a bit like, how you doing? Staff want to exit stage left, So how do you want to have if you have a party, if you want to go to tell me about a great party. Let's say a house party, make this a little more 101. Show me a good house party, and I'm going to show you a host who's having a good time. If the host isn't having a great time, the party isn't nearly as good as it is if the host is having a great time. True story. Think about it, right? So
this is why I don't host. I just go to your house. It's so much easier. Hey, just real quick on that, Karl, I'm going to just dive in just for a quick second, just because, soccer weekend for me, and it was interesting because a couple of things got really exposed on that team this weekend, and not on the on-field perspective, but on the off-field perspective, where there's just sort of situations that occurred. But I want to bring this into a business frame and just go, we all have a perception and belief that we know what's going on with our staff and our teams. And to relate it to business coaches, we all have a belief that we know how our clients are feeling, and we'd like to believe that they're happy. But how can we truly gauge that? Like, it's always fascinating to me when I meet with a client. I'm like, well, when's the last time you actually surveyed or asked your clients the questions of like their happiness sort of quotient, if you will? Like, do you run into that where it's just like, man, like people are unhappy and management and or coaches are oblivious to perhaps how close they are to losing clients?
Oh, look. Yes. So it's like, well, look, go staff members for a minute. When a staff member leaves, if you do what do you call it, non-partial interview after the exit, they'll tell you with like 80% certainty, if not 95% certainty, I wasn't really sure what was expected of me. That's what they'll tell you. Which, by the way, will come back to rules. If you want to, you've got to have a good culture, is what you then say. Best companies have the best culture. You show me a company with fabulous culture, I'll show you a company with rules, right? So any professional sport, your soccer on the weekend, they had rules. They've got referees, they've got rules, they've got, the parents can't run on the pitch and the players can't run off. You know what I mean? Like, you got to sub in, you got to sub off, you can't kick the ball out of bounds. Like, there's rules. What rules do you have in the company? And they don't have them. So with clients, again, you know what I mean? What rules do they have in place? And then, by the way, what are you measuring? One of the things that we do is like when everybody goes through training, they automatically fill out what do you call it? Like, not quite a survey. Let's call it a survey for the sake of the argument. And by the way, we get like 5, so it's a ranking of 5, and we get like anything less than 4.7 would be like 5, red light alarm. 5-star alarm, but anyway, we never do that. Like, we get 5s really consistently, which just tells me that, again, it's a really good experience. Our folks are, doing great, and then they're coming out of the training happy. But at the end of the day, Rode Dog, goal isn't to pat myself or my team on the back. My goal, we are measuring it, right? So if there were to be a problem, we are going to know by virtue of those, of those surveys. So with your clients, the average business is just not doing that, and they should absolutely start. And the measurement is the key attribute that I want to highlight here. That if you're not measuring it, you just you don't know, and you could be categorically correct the way you just said it, that clients are walking out the door, staff are about to walk out the door because they're just not happy. So
Well, it's interesting because I'd say the true measurement for a business these days is your Google reviews, right? Like, and I always find it absolutely hilarious when people say like, "Man, I got some bad reviews. How do I just eliminate them, or how can I delete them?" It's like, how do you delete them? Like that's your solution? How about you take the honest feedback and you fix the underlying problem, and you drown out the bad reviews with people saying the exact opposite of how things have changed or how good you are, right? Like that's the part that's always fascinating to me, is like you're getting live feedback. People are more than happy to give you their opinion online these days, last time I checked. So, if you simply ask them, they'll give it to you. Unfortunately for us as coaches, we typically don't do that. Like, what if you just did that? Like, if give me a review. How am I doing? What's going on? I think that would be probably pretty darn insightful.
there you go. Measure it, measure. You got to measure it, buddy. And that becomes a rule, right? The measurement becomes a rule.
How do you not get complacent with it though? Like if you're like, well, man, we don't get below 4.7, you could just sit back and be like, check us out. Like we're pretty damn good.
Yeah, but no, because it just doesn't stop. You know what I mean? And that every new client, so you know what I mean? So we would, you know what I mean? We would know in record time if anything dropped below that. Because it's something we're looking at on a regular, like weekly basis. We do a weekly roundup, right? So anyway, so yeah, I think it'd be pretty hard to get complacent on that because frankly, it's a rule. I think without the rule and without the measurement and without the frame of like every week having a look at this to make sure that nothing's dropping, yeah, that's my answer, bud. Got to have a rule, man. The rule. The first principles of football is the rule book. The first principles of hockey is the rule book. First principles of a pool tournament, the rule book, right? You got to go to. You want to have good culture, you got to have good rules. There's real magic in that. You want to have a great company, you got to have great staff. How do you create good staff? You have rules for them to operate by. So there you go.
And just to add to that for a sec, what rules do you have for yourself?
Do
Right?
I have?
No, I'm just saying in general.
Oh.
Like if you're as an operator, as a founder, as a coach,
How long do we have?
yeah, what rules do you have for yourself in the way that you operate and the things that must get done on a daily basis? What rule do you actually even have your own rule book on how you operate and show up inside of your business? I think that'd be a good. You may, and it's funny how it always works that way, right? It's sort of like when I do an expectations conversation. If I ask somebody the expectation, hey, what are all the expectations that you feel that you can have of me? That list is a heck of a lot longer than when I turn it around and go, well, now what expectations can I have of you? Funny how that works, right? So it's the same sort of deal. Like, we have a lot of expectations we feel for our clients, but what can they truly expect of us? And what can we expect, more importantly, of ourselves? So
I'm going to tell you what I did. Want to hear how sad I am? Like literally this weekend, because I'm having a bit of a, like this weekend was a bit of a, not so much, it was like work on Karl weekend. Let's just call it that. Anyway, so I wrote 3 letters to myself. And then they were dated, like the date was over the last 3 days, right? And, it's Mondays, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I wrote 3 letters to myself, and I was kind of curious just how different they would be, because that was my plan to do this. Anyway, so I dated it 1 year. I didn't do it 25 years out, 10 years out. I did it 1 year today, and then I wrote myself a letter back, like from myself in the future. So anyway, it's pretty interesting little, it was, I would encourage anybody to have a crack at doing that.
So that's awesome. I love that. So what was the biggest takeaway? What was your biggest lesson you got from that?
Well, the theme of it was, So the theme of it was thinking bigger. You know what I mean? Like the old forest from the trees kind of metaphor, right? Where I was like, hang on a minute, I feel like I might be staring at some trees here and not rising up to 10,000 feet looking down at this. So it actually so I mentioned that I didn't do it from 25 years, but the letters to myself had so I have my 25-year goal, and then my 1 year from today, what was I saying to myself and what was I congratulating myself on? Um, and was it consistent with my 25-year goal? And ironically, my day 1 and 3 were semi-consistent, and day 2 was like off the chain different. And I haven't quite worked out how to, you know what I mean? How to work that out. I'm very interested, and I'm actually going to go and revisit those 3 letters. So well, there you go. But
So then the final question I have about that is how did you sign that off? Did you put like love Karl, or how does that work?
You know what?
You put on some lipstick and you sealed it with a kiss?
Dude, Teddy, don't give away all my secrets here, Shades. And I'm love letters to myself, weirdo.
Okay, can I get this back on track real quick? Last week, okay, you were talking about supply and demand, and you're coaching clients, when your coaching clients are like buying and selling, and you were going to expand more on that. So can you maybe just give us a quick sort of summary? So, because I know that was very general what I just said there in terms of the bigger question, the bigger thought around it, I guess the frame around that, and then can you kind of elaborate and expand on that, please?
Yeah, good. Okay, so yeah, probably a good idea there. So buying and selling. So we were talking about the money's made when you buy, not when you sell, right? So let's just use real estate, real simple. If you buy well in real estate, like before you buy a real estate deal, let's say that you and your wife are house hunting, I would encourage you to create a rule, ironically enough, a rule that you do not make an offer until you've looked at 50 houses. Because I promise you, after looking at 50 houses versus 3 and getting really pumped up about the second one, you're going to have a completely different frame. Actually, which ironically, again, was about last week where I was saying like context is like everything. You're not going to be able to achieve the goals that you're looking to in that 25-year plan if you don't understand your context, right? So again, the fish is the last person that understands it's in the water. Or a great example, like I live on an island, right? And there are some of the worst drivers in the world on this island. You've never seen anything like it. But what it is it's people that grew up on an island and have never actually driven on like a proper road and a proper highway with proper rules. So they just, honest to goodness, they just don't live by rules. They'll pass you. They'll oh my heavens, right? They drive so fast in the most inappropriate areas, just like, oh, it's really quite frankly, it's a bit dangerous, right? So anyway, so that's context, okay? Your context after looking at 50 houses will be significantly different than if you look at one, 2, 3, and then get really pumped up about one of them. That's not to say that number 2 house isn't the right one after looking at 50, but I doubt it. So I'd create some rules around that. But what I was saying, like you make the money when you buy, right? You own a retail shop. I can tell you that buying is insanely important. Yes, of course you do need to sell, right? But if you buy really, really well, you can absolutely crush it, right? So, okay, to help you along with that thought, like let's say, okay, so something in like, let's say 1985 sold for $100, and then something today, it sold for $100, and then today that same product is $100. The difference is in a 1985 or thereabouts, it would have been like $50 for distribution and $50 for the product, right? You follow, and that 50 and 50, that's 100. That's how you get to your $100 unit of sale. Well, that same product today that was going to sell for 100 would be made up of roughly $85 distribution and 15 product. Okay, so just think of a t-shirt back in the day. Just every year it gets a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper. We get them out of India, we get them out of China, we get them, we print off, X amount of them so that we get the unit of sale down. So the bottom line is that $85 distribution, $15 product. What you'd want to be guiding your coaching client, what you'd want to be guiding yourself on is that trying to, if you were going to try and shave $10 off that 100, would it make sense that you look at distribution that represents 85 cents or $85? Or would you look at product that is 15? And no doubt it's painfully obvious that distribution is really where you could make the difference. Let me give you an example. You're selling a t-shirt, right? Again, let's just say it's a $100 t-shirt. Rather than trying to find a way to get it $2, $3 cheaper, you got to find a way to get it, get a hold of somebody in China, place your order, make sure that it's of the quality that you need. And then in China, you got to get it onto the boat. Onto the boat, you got to get it, into a container. You got to make sure that that container is full versus half empty, or you'd be paying more, let's assume. You got to get it from China to North America. Once you get it to North America, you got to stop the boat. You got to get the box out of the container. You got to get it onto the shore. From the shore, you got to get it into the back of a truck, maybe a train. From the truck or the train, you got to get it to the next, the area. Let's call that the wholesaler. You got to get it boxed up. You got to get it stamped. You got to get it barcoded. You got to get it from there to the back of your retail shop. You got to get it from the back of the retail shop to the front of your retail shop. You got to get it to the front of the retail shop. You got to get it, presented in a impressive way so that then somebody wants to buy it, right? Like you see, like the distribution channel as opposed to the product. You'd be way better trying to find a way in distribution than product. But the bottom line is that, and again, I give you that as a frame, that you want to be spending time in, you want to understand what I just described, right? Because every product, every service, something it's gonna adjust a little bit, but make sure that you're not, like trying to get a dollar off per t-shirt when you could find a way to order it from somewhere overseas versus down the road, which by the way, you might be categorically opposed to that for different reasons. You want it to be made in Canada, made in America, made in Australia. Like that's a different, than that would be like your values for your company. And then that would be a different conversation. But bottom line is you make money when you buy as opposed to when you sell. Recently, we talked about, I'm not going to go into the supply and demand thing, but understanding there's, scarcity and urgency, and you should really understand those two dynamics and how they relate to sales. But there you go. Shoots. Like expanding, just the money is in buying, not selling, and then understanding maybe that overarching context. And the fish in the water metaphor, you really want to be understanding like what is the industry that we're playing in. It's like supply and demand right now. Like there are some, if paying attention at all, that there are supply chain issues everywhere right now. Okay, well, are those supply chain issues going to last forever? Hard no, right? So again, maybe, do you know what I mean? Like negotiating a deal right now, you're going to want to make a short-term deal knowing that supply chain issues exist right now, but full well in 18 months, 2 years, it's going to be a very different climate economically when it comes to supply and demand. So anyway, so that's my answer, Shoots. Just you make money when you buy, not when you sell. That's important. I mean, of course, you got to sell, right? You're not going to sell your t-shirts, not going to sell your stuff. You're not going to get anywhere. But I'll tell you, buying is very, very important. So that's my answer.
Beauty. Hey, listen, bit of a change of gears here, but we were talking before the show about how much reaction you were getting from one of your emails, and it was an email where you were explaining how you need to work from your goals rather than towards your goals. And I just thought, you know what, if you're getting that much reaction, maybe it's something just worthwhile discussing here. So can you go a little bit deeper for us on that and maybe set up the frame for us and then how all that works?
Yeah, beauty. Agreed, by the way, that's lots of I think this is good. Like you want to come from your goal as opposed to towards your goal, right? So again, let's just say you want to do $1 million a year this year with your coaching. Well, trying to ramp up to it is one thing, but acting as if you're already there and then reverse engineering. Okay, so if I'm going to get to $1 million this year, that is $83,333.33 per month. my coaching is X amount. I reverse engineered that. You know what I mean? Like just measuring and reverse engineering all those numbers to kind of, get you there. And I'll tell you this too. Um, when you're setting your goals, or let's use New Year's resolutions as an example, because that's always everybody kind of gets that New Year's resolution that 21 days into the year, right? Big lead balloon. Um, if you were to ask me why most resolutions die at day 21, approximately, even before that, it's because there's not an intention set. You know what I mean? Like set intentions over goals, and I think you'd be significantly further off. An example, and I've said this a lot. Like if I was going to run local live events, yes, I'd want to get 10 people there. I'd want it there every Tuesday at roughly 7 a.m., et cetera, et cetera. But if my intention was to increase the consciousness of the average local business owner, that so business failure was significantly decreased as a result of my presentations and my involvement and my active, my activity in the business world, in the, the business community locally, like that's setting like an intention. And because then what's going to happen in your third event, if you don't get the room, you don't get all 10 people there and only 3 people show up. If you've got that massive intention, it's going to be a lot easier to run over the top of it like a speed bump, as opposed to go, oh, only 3 people showed up. I look like an idiot. I didn't get many referrals. I don't have that many, nobody's going to come next week either. Look, I'm going to change my strategy and I'll start meeting people at Starbucks, or I'll start just going to the local networking functions and I'll use that as my lead gen, right? Like that intention of something really big, something really important, something that you really, really believe in. Like, do you really believe that when local business owners fail, that there is a horrific wake left behind, by way of depression, by way of school holidays, having to stay home when all the other kids are going to Disneyland, or, doing all fun kinds of stuff, right? All of a sudden, why do marriages break up? Lack of money over lack of love times a million, no question. So all of a sudden, it leads to the separation. It leads to the divorce. What does a separation or divorce lead to? Stepmommy, stepdaddy. What does that lead to? You know what I mean? Do the math. Like think second, third, fourth order consequences of it. So that's, you know what I mean? Like I am a poster child for what I just described, right? Well, basically, and my brother committed suicide. Thank you very much, right? Like my family literally went sideways, right? So I just, so it's really easy for me to buy into what I'm describing here, right? So the bottom line is, I think again, yeah, if you're working, from your goal, I said it in a second ago, but like you got to act as if, right? Um, like if you want to be a winner, quote unquote, that might be a bit cheesy, but like you want to be a winner, you want to anticipate. And then if you want to be a loser, you react, right? Here's my question. Are you anticipating, right? Like, are you like, before you go and do local live events, I want you to anticipate the fact that the first event, the second event, the third event might be like a total lead balloon. My question is, what are you going to do, right? The stoic in you, what is your game plan mentally and physically, maybe emotionally, to combat so that doesn't suck you in, then you don't throw in the towel and say, this isn't going to work, right? What is your game plan to make sure that you do 52 weeks in a row without a break? Come hell or high water, anything, unless it's Christmas Day, you're doing that darn event. What do you have based on, you know what I mean? How are you going to anticipate a lead balloon and then not let it take over and allow you to adapt, change, and maybe abandon your strategy, right? And by the way, mental models will help you get there. Building your lattice of mental models where you protect yourself. Always stop and think, stop and think, stop and think. My mentor just constantly those 3 words: stop and think, right? And remember, greed does not run the world, envy does. So again, nothing that I haven't said before, but can't begin to tell you my opinion. Understanding that as a frame. So it's like about who you are and what you are, right? If you want people to be envious of you, you don't, putting your Lambo and your Ferrari and the doors up on Facebook is like, okay. But I'll tell you, you don't want to make them, what do I always say? You don't want to make them envious of what you have. You want to make them envious of who you are and what you are, right? how do you demonstrate that? And are you demonstrating that? And if you were the person that did 50, like, are they going to respect you more if you do 3 events and throw in the towel? Or if you do 52 events, come hell or high water, and you explain the reason why you demand of yourself to do 52 weeks, despite the fact that it's totally exhausting, right? And maybe shoots like your subconscious mind maybe needs to be, kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you got to go to your subconscious mind and know that like that drives, like it controls like 95% of your life, right? Well, how much time are you spending working real hard to make sure your subconscious mind is drilled right in, right? Your subconscious mind is drilled. I actually sent was it an email? It was something recently, blog post, email, maybe a Facebook post, but like your subconscious mind is powered by feeling and not powered by logic. That's really, really important in my opinion. Again, if understanding that your subconscious mind, and it drives 95% of your actions, 95% of what you're thinking, if it's powered by feeling and not by logic, it might be something that you need to manage. It might be a pretty good idea to get on top of it versus letting it get on top of you. If that makes sense, right? I mean, like your subconscious mind is literally what keeps you breathing, right? And it's always alert. It's always available, good and bad, but it is always alert, and it records everything that you say. It records everything that you do, and it records everything that you experience, right? So again, you got to make sure when you have a bad experience, can it be a beautiful outcome? And the answer is absolutely. Well, who's going to make that decision? And the answer would be your subconscious mind. And by the way, if you've been around the block, why is somebody at 70 so much more grounded than somebody at 35? Because they've been around the block and they know how seasons change, situations change the same way, right? So they know that it's going to come around and it's all going to be all good. And what's that saying? Like if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger, right? But those things come from your subconscious mind. Some people are a little bit more worldly. Some people are a little bit more, stronger within themselves at a younger age. Like, what did I say recently? Like, the bottom line is that you want to show up. Oh, I think I was talking about Steve Jobs, and when he shows up and when he does a presentation, I like reverse engineered the pitch that Steve Jobs did for the iPhone and the iPod and everything else. The Mac back in the day. And one of the things that I said, which I think is the first thing that I said, is that he spoke from the positioning of with the coolness, the calmness, and the level of care of a grandfather talking to his 5-year-old grandson, right? Like think about the groundedness in that dynamic. You know what I mean? And are you? And the answer is that you're not. I would highly doubt that you are if you don't consciously think about it to the point where then you allow your subconscious mind to get there so that becomes your default. Like if you ever watch Zig Ziglar talk, and if you haven't, I encourage you to. He had that exact same way about him. I believe that he actually came out and literally said the way that he talks to his audience is that he imagines that he is grandpa and he is talking to his 5-year-old grandson who just done something bad and he's trying to explain it. It's like, I remember reading that and I was like, oh my heavens. So powerful. Right. So, and by the way, your subconscious mind, the good and bad news is it takes everything literally. So the good news is that you can, make out like you experienced something and then you hadn't. You could make out like you've already accomplished something is what I'm kind of trying to say. And then it will take it literally as though you'll start acting as if, because it takes everything literally. So you got to start talking to it. You got to start acting. You got to start feeling as though you already accomplished that goal of the $83,333.33 per month, which comes to $1 million, right? Like shoots. What is it? You talk. I'm going to make a bit of a meal of this, but I'm trying to like give like a powerful statement, right? But like you talk to yourself more than you talk to anyone, right? My question is, what are you saying? And like, if you want to know, like that is your subconscious mind at play in a very real, intangible way. What you say to yourself about yourself when you're by yourself matters. When you say, Like I get my daughter to say this, like, but I go, like she goes, I am, and then she says amazing, right? Or, but then I get her to say, I am amazing. I am amazing. When you say the words I am, and you say this to yourself all the time, by the way, I would encourage you to reverse engineer and catch yourself and have a look. Are you telling yourself that you're disorganized? Are you telling yourself you're no good at sales? Are you telling yourself that you're not cut out for business? Are you telling yourself that you're going to lose these coaching clients? Are you telling yourself you're not good enough, right? So when you say I am in a similar frame, what you say after that is so important. So that's good and bad news, right, Shoots? Because what you can do is go, I am amazing. I am the builder of a coaching company that does $1 million a year, which is $83,333.33 per month. So anyway, you know what I mean? You start talking to yourself with that. I've got a little frame that I do. I remember, Shoots, you and I, we've talked about this on the podcast, but I was driving along in my car and you saw me and you were like, my God, who are you talking to, man? You were talking to yourself like crazy. And I was like, buddy, I wasn't, buddy, you know what I was doing? I was doing this stuff that we talk about. And I was saying, I now command myself, I do this all the time. I did this on the weekend. I had a little weekend of Karl, right? Literally did this weekend so many times it would be hard for me to count. I now command my subconscious mind. So I basically just, set my goal, right? But I now command my subconscious mind to direct me to, and then I enter my goal and then I say starting now, right? So that might be something you might want to adopt, but I literally talk to my subconscious mind in an effort to program it, good, bad, and different. But I will tell you when I do that, it works ridiculously well. So you might want to steal it. So anywho, just strengthening your subconscious mind. Then, by the way, if you go, okay, I want to improve my subconscious mind. Well, first of all, I am, right. So what are you saying after that? But I'll tell you, your environment, my heavens, like the people you hang out with, the locations that you frequent. We talk about going to networking circles. Again, you go into BNI, which is fine, but that's the sandbox. Are you going to the oil and gas club? Are you going to the golf course and mingling with those and all the sponsors? Are you going to the yacht club? Are you going to the high end venues? Are you going to the low end venues? I might have said this last week. Look, here it is. Some buds, they get together and they go to happy hour, which is fine. And I'm all for saving $1 off of a beer. But I want you to imagine the circle that are at happy hour without even seeing that bar. I want you to picture the quality of the conversations, the quality of the individuals, the net worth of the individuals, the goals of the individuals, the goals that they're overtly, you know what I mean, like directly talking to their circle about. And then there was another event that was like, it was like $500, let's just say, right? It was an expensive event. And it was like, and something to the effect of, it's not that I don't want to go to happy hour, and it's not that I don't go to happy hour, because you will see me there once in a while. But I'll tell you that the reason I won't go is a little bit of what I just described. And the reason I did go, and I would go to the $500 event, or the more, let's just say it's a more expensive event, that's the reason, because I just know that the quality of the conversations, the quality of the individuals, the net worth of the individuals, the subconscious mind of the individuals, the contacts of those individuals, that network, you know what I mean? One collaboration. Not that I'm going there to network for business, like a furthest thing from. But that being said, who knows? That's not something that I'm, adverse to. But at the end of the day, I'm not going there fishing. But I don't know. Is that even relevant? Probably not. The bottom line is that the environment that I went to, the two different environments, just without going, I just want you to picture it. Okay, this weekend, my question: if somebody puts something in front of you, and again, let's just call it a $500 price tag, is that something you're going to say no because of the $500 price tag, or is that why you're going to say yes? Because the $500 is irrelevant, because one conversation, one collaboration, one relationship, etc., could be totally game changing. That's, when you speak to somebody who sends their kid to a private school, one of the reasons why parents, if you speak to them, why they send their kids to the private school is I just described it, right? It's just a higher level environment. The teachers are better. The environment is better. The other kids tend to be in environments that tend to lead them to go to let's just say Harvards and MITs and Stanfords and that sort of thing, which is a really good thing. So, and by the way, please take all that with a grain of salt. Does that mean that you got to run around in all of these ridiculously high-end circles? No, I think that there's absolutely a place for, going for a happy hour beer and chilling out and watching a movie where, it's just literally shaves IQ points off of your IQ. But that's okay. But understand that your environment matters and you don't want to be spending too much time in that environment. Speaking of which, the audios that you listen to would be your environment. The videos that you listen to would be your environment. The TV shows that you watch, my heavens, absolutely. The TV shows within your home that are playing, you know what I mean? Like, careful with that. The friends that you hang out with, you know what I mean? Like that's all. So your environment, you want to strengthen your your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. These are types of things that you might want to be thinking about. And by the way, maybe not. What do you read? Look, the books that you read, the topics that you read. You suck at sales. I'll go look. Okay, how many books have you read on sales in the last 90 days? How many audios on sales have you listened to in the last 90 days? How many videos on YouTube on sales have you watched in the last 90 days? I want you to guess that the person that would tell me they suck at sales, let's all have a guess together. How many books, how many videos, and how many audios have they listened to on sales? And we can all say it in stereo. 0, right? Well, that a good idea? No. Somebody says they're disorganized. Somebody says that they struggle to build a team. Well, ask the same question. How many videos, audios, books have you read, watched, and listened to on the topic? And the answer is going to be very few. So anyway, so things that you're, sticking your nose into. Look, the people that you're listening to, are they 35 or are they 75? Right? I tell you, there's two things that are very, very rare: old and rich. When somebody's old, and so, because I know lots of old people, I know lots of rich people, old and rich is far less common combo. When somebody's old and rich, you should do something. You should zip it up and listen. Ask questions. You're going to be talking, you're asking questions, let them talk. The 35-year-old that knocked it out of the park because they invested in Bitcoin or NFTs or whatever, I don't know. Maybe they've got an unbelievable amount of wisdom. Maybe they can provide you unbelievable value. But I would, before I listen, I would go, hang on a minute. Do they have documented, decent amount of success? And in some cases, the answer is absolutely yes, but in other cases, not so much. Anyway, so I'm writing. I sit on the weekend, like I literally wrote 3 letters to myself. Are you writing? That's very, and I write, I do like a daily email, and I've done, you know where I'm at now, but 900 something crazy. But the bottom line is that I have taught myself through sufferance to some degree, but writing kind of like a journal to myself in a lot of ways. I like to tell jokes. Rode Dog and I get together, have a beer. Like, he's telling me a joke, I'm telling him a joke. We're kind of quick-witted and we're back and forth. Like, I'm making him laugh. If Rode Dog and I sit down and have a beer, one thing I guarantee is that we're going to be laughing, right? Well, guess what? When I write my daily email, I throw a joke in there. Why? It's like my person. I don't want to write an email without the joke, because it's my, what I mean? It's what I'm doing. I want to be having a good time, and it's funnier. Like, trust me, I laugh at my jokes more than anybody, right? I enjoy them. So anywho, so there you go. Taking deep breaths, by the way. How long can you live without eating? Let's call it 30 days. How long can you live without water? Let's call that 7 days. How long can you breathe without oxygen? And it's minutes. Something really, really important is the number of deep breaths you take per day. Really good way to get around that is to work out for 30 minutes every single day, so that you're, semi out of breath. You'd be amazed at what that will do for your long-term health. But no doubt everybody knows that, and walking and exercising and meditating, all those types of things. So shoots, all that to say, working from your goal versus towards your goal. I think it's pretty obvious in the frame, like what that means, but you got to come back as opposed to go to. And I think that will have some massive, massive power. And hopefully I just given you some ideas on how to strengthen it. So what do you think, Shoots?
Well, the reason I listen to you is exactly as you stated. You're old and rich, so that's why I listen to you, Shoots. It's funny how that works. And before you put yourself on this pedestal, like you don't watch any trash TV, Coming to America and The Bachelor. Those are two things that I'm just going to point and just leave right there, folks.
Shoots. I never miss, sadly, The Bachelor. I find that to be the world's greatest. But I can honestly tell you, I watch it every season, right? There's the one, person that just goes, right? What do they always say in their exit interviews, right? Like they just didn't open up quick enough, right? And then
Mm.
what do they, when somebody sticks around, is like, you know what I mean? Like this person, like when somebody's vulnerable, is that a good thing or a bad thing on the show? And it's categorically shown over Lord knows how many episodes and relationships and whatever. But opening up and being vulnerable, that's the way that you stick around. Being batshit crazy is like, actually, it doesn't actually. It's really good for the show. So I think that those people end up sticking around a little longer than ideal, but they don't. It's very rare that they end up with the Bachelor, the Bachelorette. But you know what I mean? Like it's a social experiment on steroids. Just pretty laugh, frankly. Yeah.
I was going to dive into the emotion piece, but I think we should probably wrap it for today. We'll get into that one next time. We'll carry that question forward because I really want to hear your answer to that. So there's the ultimate tease for the next episode. But real quick, you mentioned it, the three letters. Explain to me real quick, like one is from now to a year from, like what are the timelines to which you're writing yourself?
Look, I don't know. Look, I would encourage anybody listening. I think that they might know instinctively that maybe their time horizon would be a little bit different. But I had, I don't want to call this like, I don't know, it's just inspired to do this, but I did make a bit of a plan that I was going to do this 3 days in a row, and I was interested in what it was, what was going to happen. But I did it like I literally put like the date dated 1 year from today, right? And I headed all of them up with that, and I just wrote it back. So I was 1 year from today, and I was talking to myself, both congratulating myself on things that I accomplished, plus, maybe some things that I could have done a little bit better. And I'm anticipating things that, ooh, okay, hang on a minute, and gave myself a little bit of leeway. Actually, I created a goal for myself, and then I didn't, which by the way, I'm curious as to why I did this, but I actually didn't quite accomplish my goal, but I came really, really close. And I can't even tell you why that was, right? Well, I can tell you why it was, because the goal that I put out was pretty impressive one, and I felt like probably going to take longer than a year to pull off. But I just did that instinctively. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, Shoots, but I did 3 letters over 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I wrote a letter to myself 1 year ago, which is myself today, right? It's kind of neat. And that's what I ended up with. And it was an interesting exercise, bud.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. So you wrote one letter to yourself 12 months from now. And then the other timelines were what?
No, all three of them were the same, right?
Oh,
over
gotcha.
Years. Yeah, they were the exact. I wrote the same letter to myself 1 year. So it was 1 year ago today, right?
Yeah.
And then a year in advance, and I'm writing to myself today on what I'd accomplished, how I was, without getting into it, you know what I mean? But proud of myself for accomplishing these things.
Yeah.
Didn't quite accomplish the goal. To do. And letter one and letter three were very similar, and letter two is very different.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, and to be honest with you, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to reread them and see. But I don't know. Look, bottom line, I think maybe Shoots, if we're trying, I don't know that is the most powerful exercise for everybody listening, but I will tell you what is going to be powerful, and it's what we've told. Look, 25 years from today, what are you going to accomplish? 10 years ago, I think if you didn't do this beforehand, I don't know that my exercise would almost make any sense, debatably. But write a goal 20, like what are you in 25 years from today, what are you setting out to accomplish? And that should be something monstrous, something 10 years from today, 5 years from today, 3 years from today, 1 year from today, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, a month, and a week from now, right? Like do that exercise, and I think you'd be effectively accomplishing a lot of what I was setting out to do here. And then because I had all of that, I had my 25-year plan in play. And I think I was kind of trying to work out how far along I was going to get in 12 months. And debatably, my subconscious mind, I overshot what I was going to accomplish, because in my letter, I was kind of, you know what I mean, making excuses for not quite being there, but being on a trajectory to easily knock it over in a short time horizon. So, Anyways,
Got it.
that's what it is.
I did one sort of similar a while back, and that was a 5 year. And
Yeah.
it's like you're following basically yourself throughout a day of what does that ideal day in your ideal life look like. When you open your eyes, what do you see? Who's laying beside you? Who's, what does the room look like? When you look out the window, what are you looking at? When you go to you go brush your teeth and you go to the closet and to get dressed, what kind of clothes, like what does that look like? What are you wearing, and where are you going? What do you like? Just the whole thing. It was super powerful because it's like you and I both know when you can visualize to that degree, it's pretty next level, right? So, but then I just don't think people are very clear in terms of exactly what they want. I want to make $1 million, but why? Like, why do you want to do that? And I think that's kind of important too. So that was a powerful one for me that I should probably do again, actually. So
yeah. If you still have it, I would be interested. Without, you know what I mean? I encourage you not to revisit it, but do the exercise again. And then if you can find that letter, right, like compare the two, I'd be really interested. Because by the way, and don't expect, and it's not a good thing, a bad thing that it changes, changes dramatically. Not, because believe me, if you are doing it properly, in one day, in 1 hour, you can change everything, right? In one day, you can absolutely change everything. In 30 days, the trajectory, it's like 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%. Remember, if you're flying from New York to LA and, the trajectory is off by 2%, you end up in the wrong country. Like you're nowhere near the destination. So that, and that can be a good and a bad thing. I think it's a great thing if you're thinking strategically the way Rode Dog is and doing that 5-year plan. If you just let, accept, what do people say? Oh, I'm just going to, I'm going to leave it, let's just say, to the universe for the sake of the argument. I don't believe in that at all. The most religious countries in the world are the poorest by a long way, right? And they're the frame of it without getting super granular, right? But it's like they look at it like, oh no, like in my next life, that's when I'm going to reap all the rewards and everything's going to be amazing. And for me, that just sounds like the most cockeyed, crazy, that just sounds so insane to me. Why in the world would you do that? So throwing things to the universe and just kind of letting, you know what I mean? Like just, oh no, things are meant to be and things will play out. No, I don't believe that. I believe that ruthless action, and of course there's a degree of that, right? But what I want to do is I want to take massive action. And I want to, I'm pushing my ducks in a row, moving forward through action and anticipation, not hoping for the best, throwing it out to the universe and allowing God to direct me. I mean, and there is a piece of that, but I wake up every single day and work real hard towards my 25-year vision, and good things happen. So there you go, Shoots.
There you go. There you go, folks. We're going to leave it at that one for today. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with none other than the visionary of business coaching. How is that? How visionary? You like that title, Shoots? It's a pretty big title. It's a big one for you to put on. But hey, listen, folks, if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, you aren't getting access to the Karl's daily emails, profit acceleration software, flash coaching, all of these great things that are available exclusively to focus.com clients, go to focus.com and sign up for the emails and learn a little bit more. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please, leave a review, share it, do all the things to make sure that we move up the old ranking system. And that is it for another week. And as I always like to say, remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody. See you in the next episode.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.